Alright guys, today we are going to talk about how I scrape everywhere I go now, and it's 100% my fault. So way back in the early days of YouTube, we've covered lowering springs, and then shortly after we did coilovers. 6 years later, we're finally moving on to the next step in every racer's life: becoming a pallet jack. No, I mean going air suspension, or bags as a lot of people like to say. First things first, full disclosure, this is not a tutorial. I am not qualified or experienced enough to run you through how to install something like this. Instead, I'm just going to be giving you guys an overview of some of the things we did, some of the issues we ran into, and some things to look out for if you're considering on joining us lowlives. Bringing back a classic in true car noob fashion, we've got Thomas handling the bulk of the install. I really couldn't have done this without him.
Yeah. Straight back to old school car noob. 2013?
Yeah.
14?
Yeah, 13, 14.
And then Jeff got cool and was like, I don't hang out with these white people anymore.
I also want to give a shout out to Steven. I've had a ton of questions regarding bagging the RC, and he was always able to get back to me as soon as possible with all my DMs and questions, and even sent me photos and stuff to help us along the way. All right, so with all that out of the way, let's get started. So originally, I always imagined that an air suspension system was super complex and had a ton of parts involved, but honestly, you can break it down essentially into 3 parts: the struts, the management system, and the lines connecting the struts to the management system. Let's start off with what I think is the easiest, which are the struts. If you've ever installed coilovers, it's pretty much the same process, except on the front struts, there's a line that comes out of it. So we had to mount these in some place where they won't get in the way of the wheels when I'm turning. Easy enough, right? After that, we had to remove the panels underneath the car so that we can run each air line to my trunk. Mounting the lines to the frame or anywhere we could to make sure that there wasn't any slack. Once everything was secure underneath, we put the panels back on and we're pretty much done down here. So for the rear bags, the lines don't really have to travel as far, it's just a matter of making sure that they don't get in the way of any moving parts. For the management stuff, the hard part was trying to figure out how we were gonna mount everything, so it was still somewhat pleasant to still look at. We ripped out all the interior pieces, the mats, the covers, everything to see how much room we had and where. A big concern for me was to still have access to my spare tire, so we had to figure out a position to set the lines so that they can go around the spare, not through it. We also had to figure out where we were going to mount the management system along with the air compressors and the air tank. We decided on having everything hidden behind the tank. This is so I can still utilize all the space that I have in my trunk. And instead of mounting everything directly onto the frame of the car, we hit up our old buddy Robert, who cut us out some plywood that fits perfectly in the back of my trunk. We also added a hole in the front to let the air lines pass through. Next, it was a matter of getting everything mounted onto the wood. Thomas had a cool idea at this point. Instead of using regular nails or screws, he had some hardware left over from his 3-piece wheels, and we used those to mount the air tank. After you get everything mounted, it's just as simple as connecting each line to the corresponding holes on the management system. So connect the front left line to the port that says front left, and well, you know, you get the idea. Finally, there's the matter of having to run all the wiring to the front of the car. This part may differ the most between different vehicles and how clean you want it to look. But we found a way to go around the back seats, behind the side panels, and under the door sill, so that the wiring is completely hidden and unnoticeable. And here is where we split off some of the cables. The positive and negative wires continue going forward through the firewall and connect straight onto the battery. And the USB cable stays in the cabin, and this is to connect to the controller, which, well, controls the air suspension. And that's pretty much the whole install process. Now, I want to point out, I tried my best to simplify everything to make it easy to understand, so understand that there is a lot of small details that I have left out. So once again, I just want to clarify that this is not a tutorial. If you are planning on installing one of these yourself, do not rely solely on this video. I cannot stress that enough. Consider getting help from someone a little bit more experienced with doing all this, or just go get it professionally installed. Moving on, let's talk about the kit itself. So I got the Airlift Performance 3P for the Lexus RC. So this is the mid-tier kit, meaning I get this cool little controller that comes with the kit. Helps me manage my height and see all my pressure levels and all that stuff. And I have the controller mounted into a magnetic mount that goes into the CD drive, because who uses CDs anymore? Am I right? The kit below the 3P is the 3S, and the main difference between that is that the 3S doesn't come with the controller. It's optional, and it's also about half the price. All right, so going the opposite direction, the kit that is one tier higher than the 3P is the 3H. The main difference between the two kits is that the 3H comes with height sensors that adjust the pressure if there's a change in weight, which it really isn't a big deal to me. If there's a change in weight, I'll just manually adjust it with the controller. So some of the upgrades that I got for the kit, instead of the 1/4 inch line, I upgraded to the 3/8 line. So it's about a $50 difference depending on where you order your kit from or where you get the lines from. A bigger line means more ass. A bigger line means more air can pass through the lines, which means less time waiting. I also added a second compressor. In case one fails, I can still rely on the second one to fill up the air tank. And speaking of filling up the tank, having two compressors means it fills up twice as fast, which means there's less time having to listen to this. So now we move on to the final part of the video. What's it like? How is life on air? I am scared for my life every single day. Anytime I turn on my car, anytime I drive it. It's like I'm driving on balloons ready to pop at any given moment, leaving me possibly stranded with no possible way of jacking up the car because I thought, ooh, oh, look at me, I'm so cool. My car is so low, it sits on the fucking ground. But yeah, air suspension is cool. Despite having the power to raise up my car at any given moment with the press of a button, I still overestimate myself and scrape the bumper on dips and bumps and curbs. Honestly, I don't have any regrets. I've had literally 0 issues with install. I daily drive the car. It's been about 5 months now and everything still feels as good as the first day that we installed it, if not better. Now, would I recommend air suspension? No. All right, let me clarify first. If you are planning on bagging your car, that means you have the budget, you know what you're getting into, you know what you want. Yes, go ahead, do it. It is a great decision. I love it. You know, I love being bagged. The pros outweigh the cons, and I personally think it's a great choice. But on the other hand, if you just want to lower your car, go with lowering springs or choose coilovers if you have a little bit extra cash and you want a little bit more control. If you're just looking to lower the car a little to fill in the wheel gap, bags are just overkill. Like, you do not have to get them. I hope this video has been helpful, informative, and somewhat entertaining. If you've got any questions or concerns, hit me up on social media. I'm pretty quick to replying to DMs, comments. Just no dick pics, please. If you can, leave a like, leave a comment down below what you thought about this video. I'm Jeff the Car Noob, and as always, thanks for watching.